Hello, peoples.
Salutations, and now I can see the intro.
Canada and the US have banded forces to be the most powerful element of 40K today.
We decided to one up um, everybody on the team and decide to go early this time instead of late.
Exactly. Yeah,
That's
we
right.
were like,
That
we
was your it
figured,
was your idea. It was a Brad Chester production idea.
well, I'm typically unbelievably stressed anytime we go late because I'm always early to these things. So I
Mhm.
decided to make myself have my chi be nice and balanced. The feng shui of the room is
I do like
zooming
it.
me into this.
You
So we got
know, I believe you, and I think you're very good to see this. By the way, your glasses look amazing, and they must be really handy.
colorblind glasses, my friend. I look like the Diet Coke of the fashion industry.
You just need the outfit to go with it, which is great. My son recently played a Minecraft game, or that was had a colorblind filter on it. So like everything in the game was like colorblind, basically. So all the colors were,
I didn't know how
like
much I
diffused.
didn't see
No.
because I'm basically color lazy, I guess. I can't see past
Mhm.
certain colors, like darks,
Mhm.
and I have a hard time with blue greens and everything else.
Yeah.
But when I don't wear these glasses, life seems a little suckier because I lose all the ability to see some of these things. And I'm like, aw, I need these all the time in my life.
You know, now that you do, you get to enjoy the brightness of some of the brand new things in Warhammer 40,000 this week, which is what we talk about on 40K today. That and other things. So if you're brand new to the show, it's our variety show where we hang out, we chat, and today we're going to be asking you, the audience, some questions, and we want you to participate. Right, Brad?
Indeed, I do. Did everybody that has Warhammer Plus, did you get a chance to watch episode 2?
Yes.
And what I want to know, I've never had a ranger on the board that performed that well ever.
That's a Pathfinder, okay? It's not a
It's
Ranger.
my
It's an
bad. It
Exodite
is
Pathfinder.
Exodite
That is
Pathfinder.
legit a Pathfinder, okay? That's like
He,
straight up, like, will murder an entire regiment by themselves.
yeah, he went buck wild. I like the fact that he also just left after he activated the beacon. He's just
Yeah.
like, I was going to kill you, but why not? And then we see why Tau, our weapon skill 5, as a random Death Corp of Krieg sergeant, got up with a power mace and hit their friend in the head 5 times before anybody reacted in hand to hand, and then finally shot him. They basically went, we're not allowed to shoot into combat, apparently. We have to wait until this guy dies before we can open up. Like, what is happening?
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
the rose colored
Great
glasses
question,
do make
Fraser.
me feel better
Yep,
about Tao. I
great
actually
question.
do feel better about Tao with everything else coming back. You want to tell me? I'll tell you. I said this when I was doing Meta Monday. What is terrifying for the future as a farseer who looks ahead into the future? Tyranids are freaking scary, man, because they're already doing really well into the meta at 60 some, I think it's 64% combined for the last 3 weeks. And they don't even have a book yet. You know what I mean? Like
Well, Crusher and Leviathan really injected them with some very
100%,
much needed boost, right?
but we
So
don't
it's nice.
lose anything of that.
Well, I don't know. Do
Maybe
you?
I,
Do you not?
but we haven't for the other books.
It's Games Workshop. Sometimes it does, sometimes it
Yeah,
doesn't. Like
true,
they
true,
could
true,
be on a
true.
whim, be like, it doesn't. But then again, they might like Crusher might actually be like you lose things by taking it. Does that make sense? Like it might be the book is so cool that you don't want to take Crusher, which is kind of that's the scary part. It's the what if the book is just nuts?
I
Tyranids have a tendency to come into the meta and like they don't play by the rules. They just
true.
they just
All of
don't
the
play by the
truths.
rules. Yeah.
Yeah, the new bug leaks are spicy. I'm looking at those things. I'm looking at a couple of the leaks that we've seen, and I'm looking at how they're already performing right now. And I think that, and here's a good question. Competitive 40K in the Reddit asked a great question. He said, if we didn't have COVID and we weren't so behind on books, I'm going to ask this to you, Mr. Redvan. What do you think the meta would look like right now? Because he was saying that he thinks that there was waves of books that were meant to be kind of around the same power level as each other and balance each other out. And because we've had slower releases, so we don't have books for each Marine chapter. We don't have the Salamander book, the Scars book. You know what I mean? Those are still their 8th edition books. We don't have
Yeah.
two of our campaign books, and we obviously don't have Tyranids and Chaos out yet.
Yeah.
If we didn't have a COVID delay, would we be in a great place right now? Just what are your thoughts on that?
I think, well, first of all, I think, and I've said this many times, and there's people who disagree with me, that the meta has been the most balanced in the ninth edition is the most balanced edition of the game that we've had so far. And this is with 20 years of it, like 20 years of watching it. If you just jump in right now and you see Tau, 70% win rate, because so it doesn't look balanced, right? But if you take a step back and look at the overarching like game as it's gone, it's actually like it's a lot healthier than it has been. People play things that they enjoy, and they might not always do well, but I feel like you can do okay with whatever you kind of bring to the table as long as you build the tools to play missions. But that's aside the point. With COVID, I think two things have happened. One, we haven't really seen the development of the tournament scene, which would have given us a lot of data points and information to balance things, right? As much as we would have, especially with Mike Brandt, who was put into like Games Workshop as like a tournament runner, and they ran like a couple of the events last year that led up to the Invitational. And then this coming up year, we're going to have more events that they're running for the Games Workshop circuit, basically. And, but I feel like there's a lag. There's like a 2-year lag almost for like this revamp of like an international tournament circuit that they wanted to start doing, but is kind of like been puttering off the goal line because of COVID. So I think that because of that, we don't have enough data to balance things. But at the same time, who knows? Like we'll see what comes later as things go. As it stands right now, Tau and Custodes hit the meta by storm. GZ Cult haven't had the impact which I thought they would, but that's because they're such a hard army to play.
I think it was
And
because
then we
Tau showed
just
up
saw
though too. They had a
correct,
bad situation where they came out. If they would have came out a
yeah,
few months earlier, I think they would have been wrecking the meta for a while.
and then you have like Harlequins that have suddenly given and Croftwolds that have given Croftwold Harlequins and mixed Drukhari Harlequin lists a huge boost, which even in one weekend we're seeing some crazy numbers out of the Harlequins because they directly counter what became popular in the last 3 weeks, which was Custodes Tau, right? Or just give them a run for their money. So all in all, we'll see what Tyranids does to the mix, right? But if you put all of these things, I actually prefer that it's all been in quick succession because I feel like it's a lot more hectic and a lot more like chaotic and nothing is safe, if that makes sense. And I feel that makes for a healthy
I
meta
do feel that they
because
were trying for that too, though.
you're constantly like having to adapt and overcome and build tools into your list and it doesn't allow it to stagnate or stabilize. And I think that's really frustrating on one end, but also good competitive game design on the other because it constantly forces people to innovate and to stay on top of things
And
and
this
stuff. And it's also
innovate
a
and
business
to
model too,
innovate,
right?
I was saying, when you're innovating, you're buying new models. So yes.
Exactly.
But I love that. One of my favorite things about 40K in the competitive sense is I love consistently trying to come up with strategies, including list building. I do think that list building is a actual competitive strength and weakness. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
just grabbing a list isn't going to help. Grabbing a list that you've made, even with help, you know what I mean? You help with a coach, you help with friends, do whatever. You got to make that list yours and figure it out.
Yep. Yeah.
Which you've said that forever too. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah, what you have to vibe with the list you're playing. Like it's really funny. I built a singles version of my team list that I've been playing recently, just to go to a singles event this weekend. And so I added a few elements, and it didn't really click with me as much as my team list does. Where I like played my team list yesterday, and I could play it blindfolded, and it just fit it just fit perfectly to my
like a
play style,
glove.
like a glove, exactly. So I understand what you mean. And for anybody out there in the current meta, if you play a faction, like find a GT, find like the top performing list of your faction, copy it, and then make it your own. Switch a few things around, a warlord trait, a relic, a unit or two, and just and because it clearly has done something to get to where it is, but you need to fit things in that help you,
Your
right, as
style.
a player.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some models here, because there's some cool stuff out here. Mr. Castellan Crow, for instance.
Such a cool. They did preview these models way back, but they're finally up for pre-release. You got the Combat Patrol for Thousand Suns, Combat Patrol for Grey Knights.
Yep.
Right, and Castellan Crow, like they took his old fine cost crap model, and put it aside.
I
Now we
just
got
think
a
this
nice
guy looks,
plastic kit.
he looks boss mode. I think this Infernal Master, obviously these are both done by professional painters that made them look amazing, but I think these are both boss mode. I love the little froop here in the corner of the Infernal Master.
Yeah, like the Castellan Crow, I haven't really seen him be used. He's like an Empress champion for Grey Knights almost, with like a demon sword of some sort. He used to be just a fancy, like he wouldn't activate the swords. It was like a fancy close combat weapon because it's, he didn't want to use it like lore wise.
Yeah, because he was trying to fight off the influence of the demon that's inside the sword.
Correct. Reminds me of a D&D campaign that we're playing right now where our paladin has like a cursed paladin blade that has sucked up the souls of many paladins. He's trying to like make the blade hunger like atone, but I feel like the blade is slowly sucking his soul away. It's going to turn to evil. So we'll see.
The fate, well, with the fact that Farsight's been alive for hundreds of years and he's using a demon sucking a sword that's just sucking the life force out of everybody he hits. It's like, yeah, I'm still feeling good after that battle today. Everybody else is a little winded, but I'm
good
feeling
thing we don't have
great.
any ethereal oversight over
Exactly. No ethereals to tell me anything different here. It seems like everything's perfect, guys.
That's right.
Here's
Fat Dingo, we feel for you, okay? However, you can take that Eldar hate, put it in a little bubble.
Oh, he had the Eldar hate, then he took it out. I can't remember what the next army he just dismantled with the towel the very next day. Here's a question I have for everybody. What city are you most excited about for the new U.S. Open 2022 series?
Ooh. Me first, while everybody answers.
Hit me.
Well, first of all, they're putting, 5 cities on the rotation this time, right? Which is one more than before.
Yes, sir.
I'm excited for Chicago because that's literally right around the corner for me. Like, I can physically drive there, and it's fantastic. And it's in October as well, so it's after the WTC and all that shenanigans. So I'm more than likely going to be at that one, and I'm really excited about it.
I like it. I'm planning on a couple of these. So Chicago's always the good one for me because I can just jump over there. I live in Cloverfield than you do to this.
Mm-hmm.
So San Diego, Emmanuel, I'm actually looking at probably 3 of these. Chicago's is a auto for me. I would like to see the northwest of the country here because I don't get a chance to hang out with those guys enough. You've got McDougal and Colin Sherman and Tyler and the boys and everybody up there.
Seattle, right? Like that's going to be in the Seattle one?
That's the Seattle. They got Seattle, San Diego, Santa Ana Puebla, New Mexico, Kansas City, and Chicago.
Nice. Seattle and Chicago probably the ones that I'd make an appearance at, mainly because if I go over that way to Seattle, then I could like hang out with Play on Tabletop, do some filming over there. That'd be really fun.
I just don't get a chance to talk to those guys, and I think the Northwest meta is actually really, really good. I guess it's the Northwest in south of Canada, and you've got a good player base over there. That a lot of them don't travel, so they've got a lot of tough guys that play in their kind of local.
They beat the hell out of each other,
but
you don't see them at events.
Yeah, you don't see them traveling that much, and you're like, I don't want to go there. These look like tough. These games are way too tough to be a local event, So I think I might go to there. I mean, San Diego's always, well, if you live there, obviously that's a great thing. But I like to go out. It's beautiful out in San Diego. What are the dates on everything? So we've got San Diego on the 6th, Seattle on the May 6th. We've got San Diego on June 9th. We've got Chicago. They should have done this so different. We've got Chicago on October 6th. Always hold the Chicago ones early in the
year when the snowpocalypse is happening.
I do like the fact that they have the finals in New Mexico where we can actually not die of frost. And Kansas,
when are the finals?
Finals are November 17th and Kansas City is on October 27th.
Nice.
So I don't mind these at all. What's everybody most excited about? We only got a couple answers. I'd like to see what you guys are thinking on this. Because
We've got, well, Manuel says BC. He lives BC.
oh, he says it because I live
Dila,
there. He's in San Diego.
oh, because I live there. Okay. DL says excited for Chicago, right? Matthew's just happy that there's a little bit of everything everywhere.
I do like the fact that they're
Because,
giving us new cities, though. I do like the fact that we're going different places and stuff.
you
So
know, with the fact that they've partnered up with the ITC, and the winners of these events are going to be like directly involved in like at least they claim directly involved in like shaping the game moving forward and maybe answering questions or helping balance updates and things like that. I think that's an important aspect, is getting people who know the game to help shape the game, so that you can tackle. Because if anybody's good at balancing the game, it's us competitive players that'll break the crap out of the game, right? Because a lot of Games Workshop, I remember back when they went to Adepticon, 3 years ago, and this was the time when the 9 Nephilim fighters or something was a thing.
yeah,
Remember that? Or the 9 like Flyrants, and they would literally walk around the tables and be like,
I took
"You can
notes.
do that?
Yeah, they
You know
were
what I mean? Like
so could not
you
believe
can
it.
do this?" And you're like, "Yes." Why wouldn't you? They just table people, and a lot of times they're just taken aback by, this is not what we designed by intent.
They
But
had two
this
tournaments I
still,
love when we did that. When they came over and they first went. I think it was their first tournament over with this new group, obviously, and they came to Nova,
yep,
and
yep,
and then
hmm
I'm like, and then they looked at like for instance, my list for that was Bobby G plus Celestine plus Imperial Guard mortars plus it's just like they're all Imperium. That's all I need to have for a keyword. And at that time, you could put all of them in one detachment too.
This is also when you can take all the characters and they're all blocked for each other. You'd
Yep.
have like 2 Calidus assassins, a Calexis, so that you can shoot anything else behind the Calexis until you kill the Calexis. Oh man, that was the most frustrating me to play against. Gulliman, Drago, like it was all the tough characters and a couple of Calexis.
So crazy time for me. It's just
Oh,
such a
so
crazy time.
silly. Yeah. hmm It's funny how they do that, but it's nice that they're getting involved, and I do like the tournament series. And the more I play on their terrain sets, the more I am liking their terrain layouts.
The only thing is they're gonna have to change. We're gonna have to change the Dawn of War set has to change with the new Dawn of War missions because the Dawn of War missions now have all of the objectives wildly in the open. Um,
hmm
so maybe, or maybe they just like it like that. But I doubt that they want every single objective completely in the open.
Yeah,
You
makes
mean
sense.
all
We'll
these
see what
days?
they do with that.
Yeah, our
Uh,
downtown is going to be a pain in the butt to park at. I think Chicago parking is not always known to be your friend, so that is the thing. But
Piotr says there are no Alpha Legion Chaos Space Marine lists played in a GT. Nothing to copy. That's because they're hiding away, pretending to be Custodes.
they're
So
they're also hiding away,
there you go.
pretending they're actually coming back to the Imperium, depending on whose fluff you want.
For the Emperor is their battle cry.
True. There's a lot of things on that. There's. I'm really looking forward to what the chaos is going to be. Well, that's one of my questions for today. Out of everything that's coming out, and we'll include Eldar and Craft World, what is everybody most excited book wise coming out? Faction wise, what are you most excited for? I'll include the Craft World and the Harlequins because they just came out. But we'll include Tyranids, Demons, Chaos, Tyranids. I already said Tyranids. What is everyone most excited to see in the meta? What do you want to see on the table? Obviously, for me have some elves.
Well, Brad, what about you?
Besides my elves, I put them in there because I choose the Craft World. But I'm actually the most excited for is Chaos. I'd like to see the actual CSM book, not the just this. We've had this hodgepodge of Chaos for a while, where we're taking a little bit of everything, and that's fine. But I would really like to see Legion-based play come back and be tournament viable, not this offshoot kind of army. You know what I mean? Not just because you're a dedicated Night Lords player and stuff like that. I'd like to see Legions be tournament worthy and fun and different. I'd like to also see them be very different, because it feels like a lot of this has been homogenized where you just went, these are the only good things I can play in Chaos, and you show up with these armies that are kind of the same. Um, and I'd like to see more. I'd like to see more. We've had years and years where Chaos was wildly different depending on what Legion you were playing, and I'd like to see that again.
It would be cool to see, like, well, first of all, Chaos Space Marine, like it's funny because in the Nachmund GT pack, they released some like secondary options for each of the factions that didn't have like a book, right? Or that weren't getting a book recently. And the Chaos Space Marine one is actually good. I like that secondary. It's kill something on an objective or take an objective, basically. And so it helps you play the mission really well, and you could score quite a few points on it if you're doing your job. So I'm really curious to see what they do with the codex, like the Chaos Space Marine Codex or the Hereticus Codex or whatever they're going to call it. Of course, I certainly expect them to give everything like the 2 wounds and all that stuff. So we'll see. And then, there's some iconic Crete models that you haven't really seen in forever, like Helldrakes or the Forge Fiends / Mauler Fiends, or even the little Venom Crawler things. So it'd be really cool to see them hopefully inject some like love into them to get them on the table more.
I 100% want to see that. My thing is that I just want to see more. I want to have one of my things that always drew me, because Chaos was my very, very first army. When I first picked up, I read Chaos, Codex Chaos for 2nd edition, and I was jumped in because I love the Horus Heresy and stuff, and I loved everything about the corruption and they're trying to get power and this. But the thing is that every back then, and there was a lot of problems with the game, but at least every time you played a different side of Chaos, it was just crazy different, and you had so many options. Like, I remember just a Chaos Lord had effectively a page of stuff he could get and make him super different than the next guy, So I want that for my Chaos. I just want options. I want them to be fully viable and a force in the meta, but my bigger thing on that is I just want them to be different. I want each one to be different. I hope if you play CSM, what I don't want to see is me go to a table and go, oh, I'm playing Chaos Space Marines. It's going to be this. You know what I mean? I want to be Chaos Space Marines. Man, it could be anything. Let's, hopefully it's so many different styles. And I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, the internal balance, and like I'm curious to see what they do with the legions, and of course they've given us a taste with some of the things they're thinking with like the creations of bile and like all this other stuff that it seems.
Oh no. Did I lose Ascari? I feel I've lost Ascari. Oh bueno. We will try to get Ascari back here. I'll have a 50 pound Soji on it. Oh, I put 3rd edition Build-10 where all of the aspect warriors were troops. That was such a crazy codices. All right, it was the that little pamphlet actually that gave you the craft worlds each one. I don't want to see. I hate Codex any type of flyer type thing for sure. I just like having different stuff. That's one of the things I really do love about the Elder book, for instance, or the even the Tau right now is, I mean, we're seeing a little bit of crisis spam, but you can bring different stuff. A lot of the I think the European meta is a lot different than the States meta right now with Tau, and you're seeing different stuff like broadsides and stuff more so in there. But I think that a lot of the books have just a lot more builds. Custodes is a little bit stale in the build, but they only have so many data sheets. But in an army that has a lot of data sheets, I want to see options. I want to see so many options. Uh-oh.
Am I back?
There we go. You're back.
Gosh. I was like, what is going on? And then, okay, so I don't know where I got cut out. But yeah, I was saying good stuff about Chaos. Excellent.
We started talking about Chaos, and then the warp infested the stream.
It did. It was like, and I don't know what happened.
As far as my bandwagoning goes, I actually have a bandwagon plan for the year. So I probably won't bandwagon. Well, I will. Because I probably won't bandwagon in NIDS because it's coming out too close to Craft World, and I really, really like elves. So I will probably do different versions of elves for a few tournaments, like actual, like some Harlequins, some mostly Craft World, but and a little bit this and that. And then I
Yeah.
think, depending on how Chaos looks, I will bandwagon on them for a little bit this year also, just because I really enjoy them, and I also own like 1 billion Chaos points. So
Yeah, well, it's one of those things. Like I personally, right now, am not bandwagoning at all, and I'm really excited about playing Drukhari right now because they're not the hot topic anymore, and I can really like make the faction like be what I want it to be, which is awesome.
hey guys, you gave me some great advice for the ITC last Saturday. I lost all my games, but I consistently scored 60 plus points. No, that's good. I'm gonna make some changes and try again. 100%, brother. The thing is that here's my thing that I always say: take away anytime you go to a tournament. Obviously, you want to win your games, but you're not always going to. No one's ever going to win all. There's one guy that's going to win all of his games in any one tournament. So, but the biggest thing is did you score all the points you could score? The ones that your opponent couldn't take away from you. Even your could take away all your models, but he's never take away our freedom. But no, score all your points. Your strangleholds, your teleport homers, your behind enemy lines, your secondaries for faction secondaries, things that you don't. If I'm playing Scary right now and he's just pummeling me off the table, I still have chances to score points, and that's what you have to ask yourself: did I score all the points that I could have scored? And I think that's more of a metric for me when I go. Obviously, you'll get into the smaller things as you go on and play more. But I think that's the biggest metric for yourself is, did I score all my points?
Well, there's also that, but you can develop systems and things that help you, like in tournament play, or like a thought process, or like a little ritualistic style preparedness thing that you can get ready for. Make sure you have all the things you need, and like be physically prepared by eating and drinking, and like having Advil if you need it or whatever. There's lots of stuff, lots of layers that goes into like getting yourself ready to go to events, and scoring points is probably one of the most important things because you win by scoring points and by denying your opponent points.
And and you can control that though. You know what I mean? Is make good decisions on that, and I'll look at your games on that. I have to say I agree. GK, DG, and a little bit 1K Suns. I think 1K Suns have more to offer, but I would say the GK and DG are unfortunately a little bit stale right now. And people aren't really designing anything new on them. I do think Thousand Suns has a little bit more in the tank. I don't think you've seen the end of them because I think that they have so much in the psychic department that you can always do some shenanigans with them.
There's some crazy Thousand Suns stuff that I've seen, but it does tend to gravitate towards the same like build, if that makes sense.
Well, the things that are good are much better than most of the other stuff. Is the problem, and that's where I don't want to be. I agree. John's got a good point on this. He loves how deep the Eldar Codex is. So many options to play with. That's what I like about it. I love internal. Obviously, it's tough to balance the books themselves, okay? But what I do love is when you get a book that has multiple builds inside the book that you can all play. And I think that you're going to... we'll probably see a couple of quick nerfs to Tau. I think as soon as you put the crisis suits down just a bit, I think you're going to be seeing all kinds of different builds with Breacher Fish and Broadsides and probably some of the big boys walking around killing stuff. And I think the craft world is just a plethora of just possible lists. And it also makes it so that Drukhari now has a bunch of possible lists because you put clowns in those lists and you have to ask the question of how much.
Clowns are amazing. The fact that it doesn't change like your faction and stuff, and the fact that they help shore up a lot of the bad matchups is great. I just don't own 6 Void Weavers.
Yeah, I mean, all of the yes.
And all of the yes. Also, I agree with you, Fraser. Playing Drukhari now that they're not S tier makes you feel less guilty, which is fine. Like, guilt is what we like. We live off of other people's pain. So the more pain we inflict others,
and I was about to say,
the more invigorated.
And here's the deal with myself, of course. I have no guilt whatsoever. I bandwagon everything and feel nothing. If the army's not S tier, I'm like, what am I doing here? Am I in the wrong place? This is Table for One, Brad Chester, whatever I think is the best army right now.
It's least effort, maximum result, right? Because we go to so many events, you want to have fun, but like we go to so many events and stuff, you want to make sure that you're like investing that time wisely, right? Being able to do it. Me, I'm just a crazy person.
Yes, but I also try to bounce armies that play similar so that it's easy for me to bounce from army to army. And it's a little bit easier for me to bounce from army to army if you've played a million years. So I've probably touched on every army at some point in time, anyways.
Yep. Hmm.
So, uh, yeah. Well, the thing I do not like having the voids as my to the last, but man, they do punch like so hard. Void Weavers. I'm not gonna lie. I think that if I was gonna do a look into the future of my Farseer knowledge, I would say that Void Weavers might be one of the things that will get insta point nerfed because for 90 points, 6 shuriken cannon shots and either two
And the void cannon or whatever.
and the prismatic death machine cannon.
So
Um,
silly.
and
I
when
saw
you,
that void. I saw the prism cannon the first time I read it. I was like, well, that got better.
yeah. Well, the bigger thing about them is that they got all those new guns and they're -1 to hit, and you can't reroll hits, and they have a 4-up info. You're like,
Yep.
oh,
Tough to kill. That's for sure. I will say though that I look at like 2 Void Weavers and I compare it to 1 Ravager, and I'm like, eh, the Void Weavers are definitely better for like not that much more.
yeah. I mean, if DG got the Necron treatment, what would you change? They need more fast elements. I know they're a plotter army. They need. They
It'd be
need.
cool if Nurgle could take like a lot of the Nurgle demon units in like Death Guard,
Yeah.
like just the plague flies, for example, just to have like a fast moving like buzzing thing, kind of like
The
Spawn,
drones are nice in the army themselves. I think they're underrated in Death Guard. But the thing is with the Death Guard, I feel that they have to have maybe if they could advance all the time, they need to do something that feels like they get there to places. I mean, they have a good feel because they're supposed to be plotting infantry. That's their whole style. But in today's game, you can just leave. Like I move far and
A
you
lot of the
don't.
missions nowadays do kind of benefit them a little bit more, where they can be like, "This is my area in the middle, and we're just going to fight for it."
There's a couple
But
now,
a
yeah,
lot of
for
the
sure.
times, but a lot of the times, yeah, it's the speed that gets you because you just like literally sit there and just take damage and hope that you can soak up enough to like not die.
Demon Princes, I feel are a little bit overcosted in DG with the wings though, so they don't pound as much. You get a bad return on it. I do like drones a lot though. And Morty's just too.
They're amazing.
I'm just allergic to big point. I've played Morty before in tournaments, but he's it's so I don't like taking things that cost over
Like
100 points.
Magnus. It's
Yeah,
like Magnus and Morty. Like they're cool. They will kill things, but at a competitive event, they'll die so fast that
yeah,
you literally should have shown up with 1,500 points and you'll have the same results.
yeah. What are you guys' thoughts about the Eldar links? Same a little bit thing for me is that it's super expensive, so it always makes me start sweating a little bit. It's not Morty expensive, but it is still a big lump of pew pew. It does put out some serious damage, but I think that you have so many other tricks. My problem is that if I'm taking a lynx, I have to ask myself, could I have just swapped this into a patrol of for and just taken some void weavers and gotten a lot of void weavers because you can get three void weavers for the lynx at 270 there because it's about that, is it not? I gotta look it up.
At the same time, like you can look at that, and the thing is, with the new Eldar book, there are so many good things in that book. The taking a lynx literally takes away from you being able to take other good things. Like I would always prefer to take another Night Spinner and a squad of like Shadow Weavers or deep cannon like platforms or something
Yeah,
else
there's
just
so
from the codex
they're so
itself.
competitively costed on that. Alex, is there another way to make orcs work besides Mark Perry's Goff aggro? I haven't seen them do well except maybe the Army of Renown, but who can afford buying 20 plus war bikes? Luckily for me, I have access to those because we had them back in the day when they were not bikes, and we have a bunch of them. But I do actually like the Army of Renown quite a bit. It's a little spiky just because of the fact of orc shooting, and then there's a lot of dents, especially if you're playing on WTC boards. There's dents all over the place, so you spend a lot of time hitting on sixes. But I actually think that orcs have been under investigated as
Yep.
far as that. Mark's made a ton of lists. I've talked to him a bunch, and I've talked to a bunch. I talked to John, who was just in chat a bit ago. I actually think that orcs are underrated. I think that orcs have a lot of mojo to go. I think that Goffs are probably still the best because it still gives you those exploding sixes and access to exploding fives. But
It's about consistency. If
Right.
one thing you can count on is they'll hit you in combat and kill things in combat, so you can really sort of guarantee that they'll do damage and they'll get there and they're tough and you've got some good character support and so yeah, I agree with you, Brett. I think orcs like people got off the train of orcs because it stopped being easy to win with them, but there's still a lot of like
Cheap
stuff that people can
cheap
do with
battle
that, frankly.
wagons are still pretty nasty. I was just about to say armor 14, but toughness 8. I went back a few editions for that one.
Armor 14,
Armor
baby.
14, baby. But
Yeah,
only on
for it
the
was very,
front.
very
Only
cheap.
on the
Only on the
front.
front. On the back, it was still 10 or whatever
And
it
12
was
on the
because it
12
was
on the
battle
sides,
wagon.
10 in the back.
You
Uh,
got it in combat. That melt gun was gonna blow that thing up. Sky high. Well, melt bomb. Sorry.
I can see how you could be still tempted to try your Shadow Specters because the model looks amazing. I don't like Hornets as much right now because of the other stuff all got more bang for their buck. And I have
Mhm.
Hornets. The Hornets aren't bad, but everything else just got a little bit better with what it does. So I kind of always
Yeah,
just go for the most efficient stuff.
I feel like Hornets do lose out on the fact that they're not core. Like when I used to run Hornets a lot, it used to be like Doom Guide. Like you can make a unit of Hornets do a lot of damage, and then like forewarn and like shoot stuff that was across the board, deep striking and things like
I,
that.
I,
So I
I love that you say that because of the fact that I just had a game the other day, and it's so funny that because we have things that are Craft World locked and core locked. So I went to cast Doom on a unit, and then I realized that all the things left in my army, none of it was Craft World or core.
yeah,
I had two
nothing was
Night
core.
Spinners, a Shadow Weaver unit, and
Yep.
Phoenix Lords, and I was about to make all my attacks, and I was like, or about casting all my psychics. I go, I'm gonna Doom, and I looked around and went, well, no one actually benefits from this Doom if I cast it.
Should
So
have smited.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, like,
Yeah. Um, Gratkin says Morty dies a lot less often than you think. Yeah, I'm sure, absolutely 100%. Like Morty is a tough cookie to crack, but like in a lot of
he just
events,
doesn't
there's
have double
big
move anymore.
windows. There's just big windows. You can't get him places far, and a good opponent will feed you like a 40-point unit to move block him, and then he
Yeah.
kills a 40-point
When he
unit,
could go
and then you do it again.
24, when he could be warp timed, he was legit.
Hmm.
Talk about peace.
Yeah.
It's just the problem he can only go
With the
12 now.
slowdown. As long as he had that aura, he'd slow down people, like you half move everybody and double move him, so he'd literally lock an entire army in place. That was when Morty was nuts.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I like this question a lot though. What do you think is an underperforming army that's perfectly suited for a team format WTC style? Now that we're talking about Death Guard, I actually do like Death Guard in a team format because it can just sit there and take points and score an 8-ish in most all of the matches.
Hmm.
They're also super frustrating. Like things like Tau just don't want to play that army, especially if
Hmm.
they're making a -1 damage, -1 to hit if they're touching a bunch of forests. Doing Cloud of Fly shenanigans, I think, is a big deal.
Hmm.
Think of another underperforming for me on that. That just come
Um,
into my head immediately.
yeah, no worries. The Death Guard is a good example. I think it's a little bit more broad than that because you have what 5 big factions or whatever. You've got Custodies, like at least right now, if you were to build a WTC event with 8 players, right? You have Custodies, Eldari, right? Slash Harlequins, Crush Stampede, Tau, which are like I would say the main 4, right?
Yes.
Right. And then, so then you've got 4 more armies to go, which you can kind of pull from, like what would be considered some of the
Well, you're
better
gonna go. I
performing
would say
factions.
Nids because Nids are
You'll
definitely in
go
the top 5.
Crusher. I said Crusher, right?
Okay. Well, we got. I
Yeah.
would say Dark Eldar.
So
I would
Dark
still.
Eldar, Gene Stealer Cult, if you have a good Gene Stealer Cult player, because if they can avoid matchups that are bad for them, like they're just really frustrating to play against and to get points. So you got Drukari, Gene Stealer Cult, and then you've got 2 more, which are like really wild cards. And at this point, you could go like any of the Space Marines potentially, because you can kind of tailor them to a specific thing that you want. Or you could go Grey Knights, or you could go Thousand Suns, you could go Death Guard, or you go like a demon mix or something like that. I think like some of those demon mix armies are some of the most underrated ones because you can make some weird combinations with chaos demons
They
and
can
like
also, if they can dodge a
Nurgle.
couple of their matchups on that. And the thing
Right.
is that's why Knights actually get into most team
There you
tournament
go.
formats
Yeah.
because they don't do great into singles because they have bad. They're going to lose a game or two because of the secondaries and missions like that. But they're terrifying into pairings, especially if you can choose your table and your matchup.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to go into knights because there's always the chance that they might just pick up your army, especially if you choose the light table and they just go,
Yep.
bring it.
The 40 Dark Angels Terminator lists, for example, like as long as they avoid something like a shut off invulnerable save, Sisters of Battle, are like, you know what I mean, or even Sisters of Battle, for example. We didn't even mention them, but they're also a really good army into sort of that pairings and
I
matchups
actually think
where you can be
sisters are
like,
really good if you can avoid their
yeah,
bad matches right now, which are
right,
volume and direct and stuff like that. The army
mm-hmm,
did get significantly worse, but it still has a lot of shenanigans, you know what I mean, and things it can
yeah,
do. So
yeah, 100%. That's a great question. Thank you very much,
I do.
Guatkin.
I love
That
that a
was a
bunch.
good question.
Ooh, I'm gonna counter this now with what would if you could bring your team. What do you think your Let's just go with a 5-man team. You want to go 5-man team, or we want to do full WTC 8-man team?
That's fine. We can do either or whatever suits your fancy, Brett.
Let's say, well, it'll be easier for everybody fast. If you're going to the ATC American Team Championships, which is a 5-man team, what
Mm-hmm.
is your team? You can only use any one book
Once,
once, so you
of
can't
course.
do Harlequins with Drakari and then bring Craftworld with something else and things of that nature. So you get
Correct.
one Marine, everything else. What are you bringing in your list?
Tau, 100%. Probably 9 broadside Tau.
Ooh,
Then we,
9 broadside Tal.
oh yeah, that's so filthy. Like we've been testing it. It is filthy.
I mean,
Um,
we just they did have Logan from out west brought did very well in the last event he went to. He did nine broadsides, all with 5 drones and 3 hammerheads
it
also.
is. It's so gross. Like the amount of firepower. It's just silly. Be like, oh, there's a Custodes army. Oh, no longer does it exist anymore. Like it's just silly. So 9 broadsides. Right now probably Crusher Stampede. So Hive Guard, triple scythe, Hierodual, like Swarm Lord, Flyrant, that sort of thing. Like if it were right now, a couple of warrior
Yeah, just we'll
squads,
say right this second.
a Harpy. Yeah. So definitely Crusher because just it's that list is just filth. It's dumb. Then we'd also take Custodes, probably something very similar to what we've been running, which is 9 bikes, 3 Achilles dreadnoughts, and then a bunch of infantry and characters with some inquisitorial support. And then we've got 2, which in the case of that would be mainly the team. So it'd be me taking Eldari mix. So I'd be able to ally Harlequins, Drukhari, and do like my shenanigans
You've
that I
got
want to do
every
with that.
pointy eared in
I've
the
got
building.
everything I want to create something filthy with that. And then Dustin, which we'd be running as Genius Occult, because he is like the best, just straight
A
Genius Occult player I've ever
virtuoso
seen.
of the Gene
He
Stealer
is.
cult.
So if you're gonna take a Genius Occult player, take someone that is a faction expert, and Dustin will crush you with Genius Occults. He is good. So that's the team that we would take to ATC.
It is a big question. The real question is Craftworld or Quinn, since it's in the same codex now. That's a big deal because I
Mm-hmm.
actually think that the Dark Eldar list is amazing putting in the Quins, but then of course you lose the entire thing.
Yeah.
But Scary doesn't worry about that because he has all of the elves.
That's right. That means I could do whatever I want. I could put in the Corsairs, I could put in the Harlequins, I could put in a Webway Gate if I wanted to, if they allowed it ATC, I don't know. Uh, and then all the Drukhari shenanigans. Yeah.
I just think that that's super super good. I'm actually looking forward. Been so excited about Craftworld, but I've been
Well, I answered this question. How about you, Brad, before we finish up? Come on, you can't leave me hanging. What's your team look like right now?
oh, it's tough on that because I'm definitely bringing Tau. I'm definitely bringing Custodes. So you just cross
Yeah,
those off.
yeah, of course.
And then I do think that you need a bully list, which I think Crusher is. So
Right?
that is my third. And then I'm going to bring the question is what after that do I split the Craft World and the Drakari up or not? Because the Drakari list I really like has Harlequins in it, and of course I want Craft World. So if I was playing myself, I would either go all elves and split, but I think that at that point in time, do you want like to combo it up? Because you could have multiple big guy lists also. If you're bringing crushers, then you could back that up with another knight player in a 5-man. So
As
it's
long
not
as you have a good knight player, right? And that's the thing. because you bring the main ones, and then the last two, the last one, you kind of like the knight's a good example, especially depending on what the terrain is like at the event as
Also,
well.
is for WTC, is Crusher considered different than Forces of the Hive Mind?
Well, Crusher uses the Tyranid book, right?
Yeah, I think
So
it bases it
it,
off. Okay, so it would be the
yeah,
Tyranid book on that.
yeah.
So I'd only have access to GSC at that point in time. Oof, I do
Hmm.
like Forces though. I still
Yeah.
like just swamping the board because it makes
It
me.
is it's probably the stronger of the two in like terms of balance, but if it serves a different purpose where you can like keep a forces of the hive mind for the mix at the end, and it kind of does well against most things, right? Whereas with Crusher, you can go, okay, who's gonna take the bullet,
If I've got,
and be like, just we're just gonna like feed you something.
it's tough on. If I'm playing it, I would like to play Craft World. If somebody else is playing it, I would try to bring Harlequins. And then I would
Makes sense.
probably still bring Dark Eldar. Like if I was gonna say we decided that Harlequins is the best for this, I would
Yeah,
probably let somebody else play Harlequins, and then I would just play Dark Eldar, like
right.
pure on that, because I still like the when you go to the event, I still like the idea of just taking lists that can score like a zillion points, especially when you're talking about a
Mhm.
5-man, because you don't have as much shenanigans.
Well, ATC is also different where you just have to win, right? Like there's no differential.
No, they have differential.
Do they really?
Only
Oh,
Vegas did that thing where that was win loss.
okay. Okay. Good, because differential is like,
The
but
only
they do
the only way
differential battle points, not WTC style. Or did they switch it to WTC
I
style?
think it's just run just exactly like that.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And I do like forces. I do. Man, it's so fun. Looking at Vegas in September, but the issue is how far away it is. More casual player who can't have all the armies. Tau will be good still. Tau's going to be good for the rest of the year for sure, at
Yep.
least. That
Like
that's
they're gonna be like knights were in eighth, like a gatekeeper. Like if you can't play against Tau, like you're gonna get stomped by
yeah,
Tau. Yeah.
yeah. You have to actually make sure you make it. Give me some stuff to live my life for this week. Tell me what I should
Just
be looking
about I
at.
was gonna ask you that question. Yeah, I was gonna ask you. Hopefully you were excited for the next episode of the Exodite, which is gonna
I'm
be airing, and hopefully we don't have to wait three
three
more
weeks
weeks
exactly. I need to know what
for
he's
ev-
doing. I'm
I need to
so
know what's going on.
psyched about that. Oh, you know what we've also
Hmm.
got? Um, as everybody watched the Batman, one, two.
Yes.
I have not. My wife just did not want to watch the Batman last night, and then I just kind of got lazy about it. Moon Knight's coming out. I'm very pumped about that.
Hmm.
We've got
Hmm.
Obi-Wan coming out soon.
Yep.
We've got some serious stuff that we're going to be talking about. Throw in the comments. We're going to end it in a second, but throw in the comments in the chat what series is coming out that you are the most excited for, or movie series or movie. Yeah,
Series or movie?
series or movie.
Obi-Wan for sure. Like, come on, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so I'll take all the fan service. Please shower me with fan service.
I love it. Love everything about it. Everyone, thank you
Stay
for hanging
positive.
out.